Hello, it's the Great Canadian Bagel here, coming to you with something very impromptu and different. So, long story short, in recent news in the United States, the President, Biden, has announced that there's going to be $10,000 of student loan forgiveness. This was confirmed yesterday, in other words, Wednesday. I was too busy yesterday to record anything on it, and I will now. Now, going forward, do not expect me to cover any random piece of thing, but this one particularly hit me hard because I'm recently graduating university. So, what is this? Well, obviously I'm Canadian, so take this with some salt, Americans, but this is ridiculous. This is the stupidest thing he could possibly do. I completely agree in that the current university system is exploitative and it over-indebts people. Costs too much money for how much value it gives, etc. And frankly, student loans are probably predatory and more or less are being used to oppress people. The catch is, and this is important, forgiving the debt doesn't fix that. If you take the responsible choice, even in the US, where university is slightly more expensive, you go to a state school, you only take necessary classes, you don't fail anything because you take them seriously. The cost of school is still a minority of the cost invoked. Because the thing is, it's not just so you're spending money to go to school, you are foregoing wages. But let's rewind a bit to a higher level look at this. Why is university right now exploitative and a problem? Well, university is functioning as a elitist gatekeeper. A bunch of older company executives, hiring managers, whatever, who grew up in the 70s and 80s when very few people got university degrees and the university degree inherently meant something, think that it means something now. Now, I'd even argue back in the 70s and 80s, the university degree, four-year degrees were stupid, but it is worse now. They have made it, these people, in their elitist ideas that a university degree tells you something of value, have made it a requirement to get a job. I work in software for my day job. I got a degree in computer science. One of my coworkers went to community college and did a 2-year program for software. Mind you, the company's currently paying for his school to upgrade a university degree, even though he's actually not taking any more CS classes because, of course, university degrees are dumb. That's neither here nor there. I think, even discounting experience difference, he has slightly more work experience than me, I think he's better at software development than I am. My degree did not make me better than him at this. It doesn't tell you anything. The extra money spent, the hours spent, the courses taken did not make me a superior software developer. And the idea that it would is a farce. Because what do you do in university? Well, they take a whole gaggle of courses. They make you take, in my case, you had to take math courses, you had to take physics, some science courses, some writing courses, CS courses, but the CS courses spread across the entire breadth of computer science, and just generic electives. That's what the degree composes of. Okay. Well, a lot of those computer science courses are completely redundant. Some of them are just bad courses, but even ignore the ones that are just bad courses, there are redundant courses in there. I work, my day job, with real-time systems directly communicating with hardware. We do not store information. In the future, if I get a different job, I'm likely going to be in the same subfield of computer science, because I work in a city that is very specific work types. The local computer science industries are very specific, and they're all working in a very similar field. I'll likely be doing that again. So my database courses that I spent $1,000 on for 12 weeks of my life is completely useless. I'm not using it. There's no foreseeable timeline where I will use it. But that's just one course. And that's the thing. The university degree bundles so much garbage together, things that I will never use because I'm not interested in it. I really don't want to work with databases. I don't need to work with databases. So the course was pointless. And that's not the only one. There's several. In fact, I took about 16 computer science courses in my 39 courses, one of which was co-op, so that's the 40th credit hour, in case you're wondering. And of those, 10 of these 16 computer science courses I think I could have not done. And I would be fine. Think about that for a second. 19. I could have ignored half. Sorry, it was 16. I could have ignored more, like just about half of my computer science courses and not taken them. And nothing about my current job, or even in fact this YouTube channel, would be different. Not one bit. None of the skills that I supposedly learned in some of these classes did anything. And mind you, a bunch of these classes were completely worthless. I took a network computing course that taught me in 12 weeks what I learned on the job in 2 weeks at a co-op. Great. Why did that cost $1,000? I could go on, but I'm not going to dwell on dumb courses that I've personally taken. The problem here is the bloat put in these degrees is why there's a debt problem. In just my particular case, I can take 19 courses out of my degree, leaving 20 courses and 3 co-op terms as what I think would be valuable. And I will strongly note here, I'm not killing all the electives. I still have all of the history courses I took, which were 7. Was it 7? Let me double check. I wrote this all down. 8. It was 8. I have a minor history. So, I'm not cutting those out. I'm not cutting out the economics courses I've taken. I'm not cutting out the statistics courses I'm taking, or even all the math courses I've taken. I'm not just focusing on course. Yes, I could cut 19 courses out of my degree. 19 courses roughly corresponds to $20,000 and 16 months of my time. However, that's not the core problem. Now, that alone would solve most of the student debt issue in the US if you just fix the 4-year degrees, but they're not doing that. The core issue here is that in those 16 months, if I was working at what my current hourly wages at my day job, which I will note is actually not even that impressive an hourly wage in software, but there's other jobs, so we'll just roll with it. I lost out on $83,000 of wages in those 16 months. If we go by what I was paid during co-ops, it's closer to $53,000. So the numbers between those 2 points, because obviously I wasn't going to, when I was first graduated school, I wasn't paid at my current rate. It was some number smaller. I don't want to do the math. Or do the math live, I should say. So that is the big issue. And the thing that morally offends me about student loan forgiveness that Biden's proposing is it's not going to change the core problem. The core problem of university isn't that it costs money. That's literally why, that's the purpose of it, right? Elitists want it to cost money so it can gatekeep people. It can keep out the riffraff. It can advantage their children. Why do you think really big schools, like Ivy League schools in the US, like Harvard, for example, why do they cost so much money? Well, it's so only really rich, connected people can go to those schools, or the odd, really smart person. But then you look at it, statistically speaking, going to those schools gives you worse results in your field, so they are actually worse to go to. Now, there's complicated reasons for that. I'm not going to get into this here, but the point of these schools is to gatekeep people. It's to make it so it's very difficult to move into the elite. It's to keep people out of lucrative fields and siphon off and extract money from people so that they have a harder time in life to the advantage of the people in the field. It's creating artificial scarcity. Software is a prime example. I would contend schooling is a useful tool to start in software. But you do not need it. You can learn all of this yourself. In fact, I had courses where I taught myself the entire material of the course, or in conjunction with my friends, taught myself the entire material of the course. Everything I do on this channel, I taught myself. No one told me how to write Python code. I learned other languages, but I decided to learn Python for this because it'd be easy. Okay. The algorithm, I wrote it. No one told me how to make an algorithm like that. There's no course you can take that tells you how do you figure out who would win a riding or a geographical area based off of polling data. No one tells you that. You have to figure it out yourself. Now, other people have done stuff and documented on it. You can look at that, but even then, they don't give you their algorithm. They just tell you the things they use, which are not that surprising. They use the polling data. Wow. The gist here is people think that because you went to school, you're superior to someone who isn't. That's nonsense. What my education distinguishes me is that I had the resources to go to school. Yes, I learned things, and I would 20 of the courses I don't regret taking. But that doesn't make me a better person. Ignorance does not make you inferior. Especially when the ignorance, such as my potential future ignorance or alternate timeline ignorance of databases, would not affect me at all. And in fact, you intrinsically must be ignorant of things because there are too many things to learn. So learning the things that are relevant to your job or what you're interested in is all that matters. Learning things that you don't care about don't matter, if that makes sense. But these systems are designed in such a way that you have to take unrelated courses that have very little value, courses that are things you don't want to learn about, to distinguish the scions of the elite from the plebs. That's what it is. And that's why the student debt forgiveness is so repugnant. Because it's not helping the plebs. It's helping the small, overeducated, wealthy population who went to school. University graduates in the US and in Canada make more money than non-university graduates. Largely because companies gatekeep employment based off of pieces of paper, not off of skills. But regardless of that, The fact that that exists means you have a higher earning potential. Some people did dumb things and did dumb degrees. But why should we bail out idiots who wasted their money? That doesn't make sense. Well, on the flip side, we have people like doctors, lawyers, software developers who will be getting debt forgiveness. That's also ludicrous. You know what? All those people make six-figure salaries in the US. Easily. Why do they need forgiveness? If this was a band-aid thrown on top of reforms to how higher education worked, forcing more specific, more targeted degrees that were shorter, that'd be one thing. But this is throwing money into a dumpster fire because some people are cold. Yeah, you know what? Throwing dollar bills into a fire will slightly increase its fuel and make it a bit warmer for a bit longer. It won't fix the problem. You think the universities in the US are going to reduce their costs? No. Once you've created a precedent of a bailout, well, they're just going to keep doing it. That's why company bailouts are ridiculous. This is the same thing, but on a personal level. State intervention to throw money at problems is destructive. But we keep doing it because we don't have people in positions of power who are willing to acknowledge that the current university system is a racket, and the fact that companies require degrees to do jobs is nonsensical. Most of the jobs I applied to when I graduated in 2020, you know what they were? They required either an engineering degree, a math degree, a statistics degree, a computer science degree. Are you fucking kidding me? I could have any of those degrees and do the same job. Why the fuck do I need a degree then? What's the point? 4 different degrees qualify? That's stupid. Then you get nonsense positions like the government where to be a bureaucrat you need a degree. What kind of degree? A degree. What? Why? What does it do for you? Like, my buddy, he works at Veterans Affairs. He needed a liberal arts degree to work there. I think it was specifically liberal arts, which is slightly better. He has a degree in history. And you know what? Based on what he's told me about his job, his degree, other than possibly making him slightly better at writing, is completely irrelevant to his job. And if you're having an entire $40,000 entry requirement to prove that you can write decently, that's a nonsense. You could have an easy test for that. Why are you making a $40,000 entry fee to have the privilege of applying for the job? That's the current system. And don't think that the Democrats in the US, like Biden, or even anyone in Canada talking about it, because there's people in Canada talking about it, care about the yous or the me's who went to school and have debt. Actually, I'm relatively lucky and have very little debt, but that's unrelated. They don't care. They want to keep this system the way it is because it gatekeeps for them. It creates scarcity for them. Why do you think you need 3 years of law school, for example, to become a lawyer? By all accounts, the 3rd year is just nonsense. It's just extra years for extra time to do nothing. Put a larger barrier to entry. Make it harder to get into the field. Create more scarcity of resources. And the sad thing about this, a lot of these big execs, a lot of these high-ranking people in companies who started these degree policies, a lot of them didn't have degrees themselves. Many did, don't get me wrong, but a lot didn't, Because you know what? Prior to the 90s, 2000s, when degrees became a requirement, people would graduate high school, start a business, and work up in the business. You don't need a degree to make a business. None of my degree taught me how to run a YouTube channel, how to make videos, what to talk about, how to talk to people. These are skills you only learn by doing. And I'm by no means good at any of them. But you can't teach it, per se. You have to learn by doing it. And you can't do that in school. That is the farce of this. This isn't to help people, to help you or I, or anyone you know. This is a means primarily to get young people in the US to vote in November, because the Democrats are facing a very red wave. And it also allows them to keep the gatekeeping. Now they've created the precedent that university can be farcically expensive, and as long as you're nice and you say the right things and you keep electing the Democrats, we'll throw you a bone and cancel your debt. But if you don't vote for us, you gotta pay that debt. It's blackmail. Instead of fixing the problem, they make it worse. Think about this, right? If we are going to see actual debt forgiveness, what is there? There's no reason why the schools won't raise their fees. This was the same problem that the US has with health insurance companies. There's no incentive for them to reduce spending because they have profit caps. It's the same reason housing is collapsing, because the government, who are mostly backed by rich and powerful people, have no incentive to want to crash the housing market. All of these problems are related. And it's not that they're inept. They just don't want to. There's no incentive. And the only way that will change is if voters are aware of this and start voting because of that. That is one of the reasons I've made this channel. You don't educate people, they cannot actually vote. I'm not telling you how to vote here. I'm telling you what people like Joseph Biden are doing and why it's insanity. But with that, if you like this kind of impromptu thing, by all means, comment below, let me know, or smash the like button. Otherwise, I will see you on Sunday with an Alberta provincial election forecast. And it's going to be, gasp, very different to what other people are saying. With that, though, I will see you Sunday.